What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs, bringing you a brand new video. Today's video is the 2-game Saturday slate on DraftKings. Basically, just breaking down the 2 games, finding some players that I like in this slate, and just giving my advice on it. So, the first game is Kansas City against Vegas. Vegas obviously eliminated Kansas City, fighting for the number 1 seed. And then Tennessee and Jacksonville, both teams fighting to stay in, or one to get in the playoffs, one to stay in the playoff picture. Tennessee needs a lot, I believe, to get into the playoffs. I might come down to a tiebreaker that they have, but both teams still fighting for a playoff shot in that game. So, obviously for Vegas, I think the interesting thing is Stidham down here at 5,400. Last week, you could see his numbers: 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 365 yards against San Francisco's defense. He now gets a worse defense, and he's got something to prove in this game. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to ball out like he did last week, but he has a lot to prove. And obviously, Vegas is probably going to go after a quarterback, but Stidham can make a name for himself here if he has another good game, especially against a team like Kansas City. Their defense isn't always as spectacular as they seem. And a lot of the weapons on Vegas, you have Waller, Renfro, Adams, even Matt Collins has stepped up. So you have a lot of weapons on the Vegas side. I believe Vegas can put up some points here. Obviously, it's a higher total slate. Vegas almost 10-point underdogs in this game. But Jarrett Stidham at 5,400 right now is kind of the quarterback that I'm looking at. Obviously, Mahomes against Vegas is another play that I like to go to. At 8,400. These are pretty much quarterbacks. I like Trevor Lawrence. I don't like Josh Dobbs. I like Trevor Lawrence. The issue is how good Tennessee's defense can be, especially when they know they're facing elimination. Now, obviously, Trevor Lawrence playing with the injury. I don't think that they're going to hold him out. Definitely think it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. But I just see that game being a very tight, close game, even with Josh Dobbs, using Derrick Henry. Hopefully their defense stepping up. I'm going to focus on the Kansas City Vegas side for quarterback in this 2-game slate. So let's go to the running back. Obviously, Derrick Henry at 8,000. He should be way more, but 8,000 against a team that he just destroys. We could go back and look at week 14, 25.5 fantasy points against them, 3 receptions for 34 yards, 121 yards on the ground, and a touchdown. Derrick Henry, just going back, you could look at it. Derrick Henry just plays very well against the Jaguars. Obviously, with Dobbs in at quarterback, that helps their passing game a little more than Malik Willis. But it also helps their run game as well. So Derrick Henry at 8K, of course, yes, I will say yes every time with that. Josh Jacobs is I think one of the very few guys that are questionable on the slate that we're looking at. And if he's out, there's some interesting opportunities. But if he plays, I do believe he can be a good play. I just don't think he does. Especially if I'm Josh Jacobs. I've accomplished everything I've accomplished this year. Knowing that I'm going to be a free agent to try to get a bag, that is what I'm going to do. Obviously, the competitor in him is going to want to play. That's just how people are, but that would be my take on it. But Travis Etienne against the Titans, I like him for the receiving game in this. Tennessee can be bad at times against the run, but you look at Etienne's numbers, they've been up and down. More up lately, but overall throughout the season kind of up and down. But you look at the week 14 matchup, Jacksonville puts up a decent amount of points. Etienne gets that volume, nothing in the receiving game, but only 1.9 yards on the ground. So I'm going to avoid Etienne. McKinnon, Pacheco. McKinnon is just a fantasy point god right now. If you look at his numbers, it's all in the receiving game for Jerick McKinnon. 22, 12, 34, 35, 14. The prices is just ridiculous. Now he's up to 6,300. I don't know if I want to trust that But if I'm going with the Kansas City running back, even though look at Isaiah Pacheco's numbers, they're not necessarily bad. But for fantasy point wise, compared to Jerick McKinnon, no. I am going to lead towards Isaiah Pacheco in this, though. I think I said I'd go McKinnon, but I'm going to change it to Pacheco. I like him, especially for the $700 discount. Now, where a play becomes interesting is on the Vegas side. So we'll just look at who we have. We have Abdullah, who's the receiving back, Zamir White, the rookie, and Brandon Bolden, who last week got 8 carries. So you would figure that Brandon Bolden would be the guy, but with Zamir White supposed to be active, healthy, that could change. I like Zamir White. I think Vegas, if Josh Jacobs is out, I would lean them to go Zamir White and see what they have out of that rookie and kind of decide what they want to do at running back. Obviously, they're going to make a lot of decisions in the offseason, but I like Zamir White at that price of $4K, but Abdullah getting the receiving work at $4,200, Zamir White, Bolden, both at $4K, so you get a bit of a discount there. So running back's going to be interesting to see what happens. Also the wide receiver. So Devontae Adams, $8,800. Yes, he has a really good matchup. You see last week, even with Stidham, Devontae Adams has almost his best game of the season. Week 13, he gets 40, but last week with Stidham, 11 targets, 153 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You go back and look at the week 5, 30 fantasy points, 2 touchdowns. So it's not saying that Devontae Adams is a lock tomorrow, but he, in my opinion, is one of the safer wide receivers in the slate because it's very tricky at wide receiver this Saturday. So you get Devontae Adams, you get Christian Kirk. Those two are probably my those are my guys that I'm for sure would get good volume, and have a good game. Now you get Juju, you get Kadarius Toney, you get MVS, Mecole Hardman might be back. There's 4 viable receivers in the Kansas City side to play tomorrow. If Hardman plays, there's 4. Obviously, I would say MVS kind of goes down in snaps. I'd say he's fallen behind. Juju has been one of the most, but you look at Kadarius Toney and the games that he's healthy, he's getting looks one way or another. Now, obviously, the health has been an issue, but you look at MVS's numbers, and it's kind of the same thing like he was in Green Bay. Like I mentioned of why I didn't like MVS this year. I think he can be great at times, but he's just very inconsistent with catching the ball. Could be a really good deep threat, but struggles to bring that ball in some of the time. So if Mecole Hardman's in at 3,700 though, you look at his games before he got hurt. Yes, he was blowing up. I believe that Mecole Hardman can have a good game here. Don't know if they'll play him or if they're just wait another week until either they get the number 1 seed and have the bye, or they have to play. So Mecole Hardman, 3,700. If he plays, he's a good play. So let's go to now the Tennessee side where you get Treylon Burks, Robert Woods, and Westbrook. So obviously I like Treylon Burks. I think he's a really good rookie, just could not stay healthy at all this year. Even when he's played, he's been playing hurt, hasn't been playing fully healthy. I know that's a lot of the players in the NFL, but wide receivers, some of the injuries that happen can hold you back. Then you look at Robert Woods with Dobbs last week. 9 targets for 39 yards and a touchdown gets you 14.9 fantasy points. Obviously, I would lean Treylon Burks here, but Robert Woods is also viable as well. The Vegas side, other than Devontae Adams, I would pick Matt Collins over Hunter Renfrow. Renfro's obviously going to have the rougher matchup, so I'd lean Matt Collins and Devontae Adams. And even with Stidham last week, 4 targets for 40 yards for Matt Collins as well. The Jacksonville side, Zay Jones being, the number 2, kind of fallen off since those 2 really huge games for him, which is why I just lean Christian Kirk for Jacksonville. Marvin Jones Jr. obviously there as well, can be a good tournament play, but I'd lean Christian Kirk. And then tight end is where I think you can get very very different in a way. Travis Kelce obviously has a huge matchup advantage in this game. You look at week 5 against Vegas, and he has his 4 touchdown game, which was really big for some of the fantasy owners that week of getting a tight end with 33 fantasy points. My only concern with all of Kansas City is if Vegas keeps it close, then yes, Kansas City players are viable. All of them. They like to include everybody. Anybody could pop off. That's just the way Kansas City runs their offense. My only concern with Kansas City, and this doesn't pertain to Vegas, Tennessee, or Jacksonville, is Kansas City gets a lead so much that they don't need to play their starters anymore. If they're up by 20 plus in the second half, there's a good chance they take these out. Now, obviously, these guys would have to get some of those points, but you'd rather have a guy that's going to be in the entire game than a guy that's only potentially going to play one half. Now, like I said, I think with how Stidham played, that there's a very good chance Vegas stays in this game and you get all Kansas City. That is my only concern. Only one. But Travis Kelce, yes, huge advantage. You get Evan Ingram against Tennessee, who's also been very poor against tight ends. And Evan Ingram, even though he hurt a lot of people last week, a lot, myself included in some of my DFS lineups. But before that, he's been pretty good at the tight end position. Obviously needing a lot of volume here compared to last week against Houston, where he only got two targets. I believe he's still a very good option at tight end this week. Darren Waller, I think, could be an option. You look at him with Stidham last week, 5 targets, 72 yards, and a touchdown. So using him as well in certain scenarios. And at 44, so you're getting off the top 2 tight ends, and you're going above the Tennessee tight ends, which either one I think is playable. Obviously, you want the rookie that has the potential to get the longer reception, but I think Austin Hooper here, especially with having Dobbs in 6 targets last week, is also an option, which is why I think someone like Darren Waller can fit into that role, kind of being the mid-tier price guy. And then last but not least is the defenses. And honestly, if I had to pick a defense, Jacksonville's defense, yes, is up there. You look at what they've been able to do the last 4 weeks, fantasy point-wise, 10-plus fantasy points a game. In some of the games, they've allowed over 20 points, so that's huge. But I do like the Tennessee side as well. Obviously, they're missing some people as well, but they've also gotten healthy. And I believe in this game that defense is what can make them win. So either the Tennessee or you go Kansas City. Those are my 2. I'd rather not pay that max price for a defense at $3,400, especially with some of the pay-ups. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. That means a lot to me. And I will see you guys in today's video. I believe I will have it going out tonight for the main slate tomorrow for cash. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely check that one out. I will see you guys then.